Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at IREN. This was a stock analysis request from one of the followers, and I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests and I'll most likely cover them, especially if there is an actionable trade setup to follow. And in the case of this chart, we have managed to actually break through the internal areas of resistance we had here in the short term since the previous video. And this is actually quite an important signal, as it tells me that with high probability, the highest possible likelihood that we have actually completed this wave to the downside. And we'll be discussing more about this and what we should expect further, but before that I would like to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we are tracking, to be honest, a quite fragile pattern to the upside, where this could work out into a wave 1 and have here a wave 2 correction. Could be, to be honest, maybe even a double 1-2-1-2 setup, but in the end the focus remains on this movement to the upside, which could be indeed a wave 3, but even if this is just a larger ABC movement, as long as we hold the areas of support for an impulse that could still develop within these levels, we can still track continuation higher, and we have managed to actually follow through with that quite flawlessly, to be honest. Yeah, because here we have managed to get into the 38.2% retracement. We got a couple of decent reactions to the upside. We did then manage to get into the 50% retracement. We have formed a local bottom and what seems to be the most significant reaction to the upside ever since we even started this large downtrend. And yeah, the reaction to these levels of support prove how relevant it is, how important that we track this scenario, this count really is. Now, within this overall fifth wave, we expect it to only form a larger wave 3, where this would be still expected to continue further even after that. Yeah, we would expect another wave 4 correction and another fifth wave before we complete the entire movement to the upside within this idea of an impulse. And within this movement to the upside, unfortunately, we don't have a very reliable structure, and we do need to still mind the areas of resistance that we can now track. What I showed you in the beginning of the video with this idea of an extension lower did fail, and it suggests a bottom is in place for this wave, but for a larger structure that it cannot be confirmed that it cannot extend lower. Yeah, I don't have a clear confirmation for a 5-wave move to the upside within high levels of this area of resistance that do give me a confirmation that after a 3-wave correction, I should expect at least another 5-wave move to the upside with high likelihood. I don't have such a pattern just yet, and in this case, I do need to still mind continuation lower. It is still a realistic risk, especially considering the pattern, the structure that has formed within this area, which we will bring up in a moment. But yeah, clearly within this structure, since we did fail to extend lower, I can now consider that this wave B topped here instead, and that we have here the wave C bottom. And to be honest, I may even consider that it bottomed at this level instead. Yeah, we might have had a truncation within this push to the downside, which to be honest is no issue at all, and it might actually even work better, since within the pattern that we were tracking for continuation higher, we did manage to hold the area of support, but we built such a large correction that I cannot really assign it for this count. This count cannot really work out, also considering that within the follow-up movement that was expected, or that was tracked to be a potential fifth wave, we would have expected to build an ABC movement, and we did build that, but then we actually formed another correction and extended even higher in a quite direct fashion. And now I am much more inclined to actually be tracking a slightly different interpretation, and for this I am considering that within this idea of a truncation, we might have had here a 1-2 setup instead, and we might be in a fifth wave, or not a fifth wave, a third wave at this point. Now, this would still be a leading diagonal we are tracking to the upside. I will be tracking a 5-wave move. Always, I will be looking for a potential 5-wave move, because those give us the signal that a more reliable pattern may be emerging that can provide us a more reliable trade setup. Now sure, from a large time frame perspective, we are still within the area of support. This trade setup, this idea for an accumulation area can still be used. But from an internal structure, from a smaller time frame perspective, we don't have a reliable trade setup at the moment. And in this area within this wave C, I would really need this to extend higher. I would really need this structure to work out to build anything that is really worth tracking within this time frame, because other than a 5-wave move to the upside within this area, even if we manage to form the wave C and if we don't hold the area of support for a wave 4 and build a fifth wave, nothing is really stopping this structure from extending lower in something like a WXY, or even a larger triangle in an A, B, C, D, E that could unfold and extend the overall correction. Now, it wouldn't necessarily form additional lows, but it could take quite a while before we manage to push higher. But at this point, we are able to track this interpretation. It can still work out, although, once again, this is within a very fragile time frame. Yeah, within the time frame of this wave C, in which we would expect to build a 5-wave move to the upside, we don't even have many options, as within this area, if I even move here on the 5-minute time frame, which is already ludicrous, I only have a 3-wave move to the upside, unfortunately, and while I could have tracked this maybe as a wave 1 within an ABC, it's not really applicable anymore. And in such a scenario, I need to be tracking it as a wave 1 up here. I would need to track this as a 3-wave move in a wave 1. I need to track this as an ABC movement that is expected to unfold within a larger wave 3. And I need to form an internal 5-wave move to the upside within this wave C. Now, at this point, we are still holding this tiny area of support, and we do seem to manage to extend higher, although keep in mind it is on a small time frame. This is extremely fragile, but if we fail this area of support and if we break below the beginning of this wave 1, unless we get maybe just a reset within a wave B in this area, which already would itself break an internal area of support, I would probably need to consider that a larger correction may be going on. And even if it's not necessarily within a correction, a reliable pattern will not be able to be tracked within this area, and we will need to wait for a more reliable structure still to emerge. And even this is not reliable. Yeah, even now we are actually waiting for a more reliable structure, but yeah, breaking the area of support here within this wave 2 correction would be quite detrimental, and yeah, I would actually like this third wave to already unfold. Now, if we get a reset, it's not a problem. We do still even have some room. The area of supports extends all the way down to the $46.7 level, and such a correction, such an extension within a wave 2 is not a problem. But yeah, I would expect and I would like continuation higher for this pattern to actually work out, where yeah, a larger, more reliable structure may emerge. But for now, we can look at some additional extensions. Yeah, for the overall wave C of the larger wave 3, I would be watching here the 100% extension of the wave A, which is around the $55 level. Now keep in mind that is just an ideal target. We don't need to get there, but yeah, we would like to actually see such a push, because within the internal structure, if we are to build indeed a wave C within this area, I would need to build here something like a 1, 2, 3, 4th and the 5th. This would build likely to even higher prices, since within this push to the upside, this initial wave 1 was already quite substantial, and yeah, I believe we may need to allow this wave C to push actually even higher. It would be probably even preferred, because yeah, as I was mentioning, within this structure we do still need to build some waves before we have the complete wave C. But for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.